the Ramchal, page 30, Bevore Yisborach Shmo, the Creator. The Ramban, at the end of the portion of Bo, speaks about Nes Golui and Nes Nistar, a revealed miracle and a concealed miracle. And he shows and explains how nature, which really comes from the word natural, nature, it's natural, in fact, is a concealed miracle. Meaning it's something which is not recognized, but factually, every moment of existence exists because God wills that it should exist and function exactly as it does. So it's God's continuous intervention in existence. But how do we know this? Maybe God created the world and put it into perpetual motion, and he's not really associated with existence. So he explains that's exactly why at the time of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, the last year that we're there were 10 plagues. Each plague was was something which was supernatural, was out of the ordinary. If in fact God was not involved, so how all of a sudden does something take place now which never ever took place, which clearly displayed the hand of God? Etz Belokimhi. So that the God showed that he's involved is a revelation that what was believed to be natural, where he's detached and unassociated, that there's no difference between nature and the splitting of the sea. It's one and the same. It happens because God wills exactly it should happen. The world did not come about by chance. It's not random. But there is a creator which oversees and dictates every aspect of existence. Kol ish miYisrael tzarich sheyamin v'yeda. Each Jew must believe and know. You believe and you must know. Know is a fact. Sheisham motzi rishon. That there exists there a first being. There's something that preceded all existence. Kadmon v'nitzchi. Kadmon v'nitzchi. Always and eternal. V'himtzi umamtzi. He brought about and he continues to bring about. It's not he created and it just continues on its own. He's himtzi. This is the yesh mi'ayin. This is ex nilo. Mamtzi, and he sustains. He causes it to be. All that exists within existence. And who is that being? Hu Eloka. That's God himself. In the first of the 13 tenets of Jewish faith, which was written by the Rambam writes that Ani Mamed B'Emunah Shlema, that God was Bora Borei. He was Bora and he's Borei. He's Borei. He's still creating. It's an ongoing creation. We read in the second bracha of the Shemon Esrei, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed. God sustains life with kindness, and he resurrects the dead with great mercy. What's the linkage? Then he speaks about Somech Noflim Rofi Cholim. Seemingly, he should have said Chal Kaim B'Chesed. And what is that? Somech Noflim. He supports the fallen, Rofi Cholim, Matir Asurim. And then, as we say, Kaim Emunosad L'Sheni Afor. He fulfills his promise to those who sleep in the dust. But before we even get there, we actually parallel Mechalka Chaim B'Chesed, M'chaim Mesim V'Rachmim Rabim. Why don't we leave that for the end? And we do talk about it. We speak about M'chaim Emunosa L'Sheni Afor. So you'd say because we want to speak about how does it come about? Rachmim Rabim. So paralleling, Chaim is B'Chesed. That's for kindness. Resurrection kindness, you need rachmim rabim, just not mercy, you need enormous amount of mercy to bring that about. So once it said, a person comes into existence and exists. Why does he exist from moment to moment? He's born and he develops, matures, adolescence, adult. At the end of his life declines, old age, and eventually he dies. Every moment of that existence, why did it take place? In that pattern. First the ascent, then the descent. Why? Because that's Machalka Chaim Bechesed. God wills every aspect, every stage of that development, the ascent and the descent. Because man is meant to die. So therefore he sustains it at that particular level of context. Person dies now, decomposes to dust. Why does dust exist? Which is the decomposed matter of the person who once lived. Because God wills that dust should exist. Otherwise, even the dust wouldn't exist. Now, when resurrection is meant to happen, what does God do? He wills that person should live. So what's the difference willing a person from moment to moment? If God would cease willing a person from moment to moment, the next moment it's as if he never existed. So why does he exist from moment to moment? Because he wills he should exist. So now there's a hiatus, 2,000 years. The man dies, decomposes to dust, microscopic dust. Now God says, wills he should exist. It's as if he didn't pass away. There was a hiatus of time. But as he existed before he died, because God willed it, now that he wills he should be resurrected, it's no different. It's the exact same process. Except for that to happen, you need Rachmim Rabim. Because here he already sinned. So to bring him back, you need enormous mercy to bring him back. Initially, once you're here, Chalka Chaim Bechesed. But if you're not here to bring a person back, that's Rachmim Rabim. You need enormous Rachmim for that. So he's Himtzi Umamtzi. He's Bora Ubore. V'yivro. He created, he creates, and will create. This is the concept which the Ramchal speaks about, the Or Chaim HaKodesh speaks about, the Maral speaks about. HaMachadesh b'tuvo b'chol yom tomid maseh v'reishis. God renews with His goodness the process of creation. Maseh v'reishis. What do you mean He renews it? He created it thousands of years ago. No, Machadesh. It appears as if it's the same. There's an ongoing willing of creation, of existence. Otzar She'ida, in addition, one must know, Sha'amotze Yizbor Shmo, Eim Amitas Mitziuso Museges Zuloso Klal, that the truthfulness of His makeup, of His essence, is only known to Him alone. Only He could fathom His own being. Nobody was able to fathom who Hashem is. The Ramchal writes in Das Tfuros, Knowing Heart, that even after resurrection, even if in the world to come, the greatest angel, whatever it may be, you will not be able to fathom God's being. It will be the equivalent of a drop in the ocean. As the droplet of water to the ocean is meaningless, the level of understanding you'll have of His being will be at the same infinitesimal level. No different. It's only Musege Suloso Klal. Ein Amitas Mutzios Musege only to Him. Ragze no dabo. Shumotzi Sholem. This is only known to Him that He's an existence that's perfect. B'chol mini shleimus. We don't even know what that means. In all aspects of whatever perfection is. There's no deficiency in Him. You know, when we say something's perfect, it's all relative to what our frame of reference is. He's the most perfect person I ever met. This diamond is perfect. Relative what? Relative to other diamonds. Everything's relative. It's not in the absolute form, absolute state. God, when we say Sholem, He's complete. This is B'tachlis HaShleimus. This is in the absolute state. V'ulam. How do we know this? If it's only something which is known to Him, no one else. So how do we know God is that? How do we know anything? Once asked, you ask this question to most people, 99% of people, people who studied. How do you know that you have a soul? How do you know a human being has a soul? If the chimpanzee doesn't have a soul, or the porpoise doesn't have a soul, although they have the so-called advanced intelligence for an animal, but yet they have no soul. A human being has a soul. A Jew has an elevated soul, a unique type of soul. How do you know that? Well, you say very simple, because it says in Torah, when God created Adam, it says, "Vayipach b'apav nishmas chayim." He formed his physicality, then he blew through his nostrils, the soul of life. That's the spirituality. But how do we know what that is? There's one answer. Because everything we know started from Sinai. Everything was revealed to Moshe. And that's part of our Masorah, that's part of our tradition. All this we know as a result of our tradition, the transmission from the Kedoshim, our holy patriarchs, and the prophets. When Jews stood at Sinai, they were able to grasp this. What it is, they don't know. But they know this is Tachlis HaShleimus, this is perfection, the absolute state. And they were able to come upon this truthfulness with absolute clarity. And they taught that what they grasped and fathomed, they passed on to the children from generation after generation. Kayom hazeh, up to this time. Moshe Rabbeinu had commanded them as a result of divine dictate. You may forget, you have to always remember Maimon HaSinai, the experience at Sinai. Of course, what your eyes saw, because you may forget, human beings are separate forgetting. So what are we sharing? Not only tefillin and mezuzah and kashrus, that this was all Sinai. We're sharing the essence of God. Who is God? He's an eternal being. He's perfect in the absolute sense of perfection. That's not forgetting, because that's when we came upon all these truths at Sinai, when every Jew prophesied in a wake state. However, גם מצד הכיר במופסים הלימודיים, he says, also as a result of delving, analysis, through miracles. He says, demonstrable proofs. Ye'omsu kol inyanu ha'ela. You're able to actually verify all these concepts. V'yukach hez yosem min ha'koach ha'nimtzos u'masageyem asher anachnu ro'im b'einenu. Also, he says, it will be proven as a result of what exists, and those who fathom what we see with our own eyes, al pi chochmas hateva, based on what? On nature and its phenomena. Handoso, hatchunu shar chochmas. Scientific disciplines, he says, physics, astronomy, and other branches of wisdom. From there you'll be able to derive the earlier truths to verify all these issues, truthful issues. But now's not the time to speak lengthily about it. He's going to present an introduction to these truths, and he will arrange it in an orderly manner that things should be able to be understood on a comprehensive level. According to what our transmission is, which is known, that what is the basis for our Torah? It's transmission. Moshe Kibbutz Torah Sinai, Yeshua, as it states the order of a transmission in Pirkei Avos. It's interesting, a person who's a skeptic, a person who doesn't want to believe, and he wants what they call empirical proof. And you read what the Ramchal said. He says, maybe the people, they hallucinated at Sinai. Do I know what? Years ago, there used to be a drug, LSD. A person believed he was walking on air, and he'd walk off a roof. Hallucinates. Maybe there was an experience there, and they show you have Lahavdil, tribes in South America, Africa, where they take drugs and they go into a frenzy and they think they're who knows what. They're in a different existence. Maybe there was some type of experience there. Who said they were in touch? They believed it was that. Maybe it was something else. Or maybe they misread it. There's such a thing known as human error. Maybe it's human error. Oh, but they all saw the same thing. But maybe there were nuances different. They convinced one another to take assume one position, one perspective. Look, if you want to be a skeptic and you want to reject, you could take issue. Is the sun shining? Maybe it's your imagination. Right? Maybe there's nothing we can't replicate. There's nothing today with all the advancements of science. But there's rational, there's irrational. A number of years ago, I had somebody, a parent, said he had a problem with his child, a teenager. He questioned whether he exists or not. Didn't know. His son said, how do I know I exist? As much as the father spoke to the child, how do I know? Maybe it's all just a figment of my imagination that I exist. Maybe I don't exist. So they brought the child to me to speak to him. Okay, religious boy, religious observant family. And I said to him, let me ask you a question. When I pick up my hand and I slap you across the face and you feel pain, is that something you're imagining or that's something reality? Because before I picked up my hand and came in contact with your face, you didn't sense pain. So why are you sensing pain now? All of a sudden that's a figment of your imagination. And you visualized it. So how could that be? And if I do something else, you experience it differently. So how could your processing of what I'm doing being a figment of imagination when if actually I'm doing it to you, the various things? Would you understand? This boy was so sick, so convoluted in his mind, couldn't get through to him. That's it. Either you have the capacity or you don't have the capacity. A person who's blocked, doesn't want to accept, you could speak truths which are irrefutable truths, they will reject it, they will not accept it. Skepticism, an attack is to mock it, to deprecate it, and to weaken the position by just throwing more dirt on it. That's about it. It's interesting. There's a Mishnah. The Mishnah tells us in Tainus that on Tisha B'Av, 5 tragedies took place. The Meraglim, the spies in the desert, came back with the false reports. It was decreed that the Jews have to perish over a 40-year period in the desert. The first. And then there was the Churban Bayis Rishon Bayis Sheni, the destruction of the first and second temple, Tisha B'Av. And then there was Beitar. Beitar was the stronghold, Bar Kocha, which was destroyed by the Romans. And it says, destruction of Beitar, was the equivalent of the destruction of the temple. That's how tragic it was. The amount of people that were killed, how they were killed. And finally, the last tragedy was the Romans, they plowed on the Yerushalayim. Harsh was here. They destroyed it. They took it down to literally to smithereens. That there should almost be no recollection of what existed in the past. So I asked. That's like, that tops it off. That's the ultimate. You'd say destruction of Bayis Rishon Bayis Sheni. Destruction means more than just destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. That God says, I'm not involved here any longer. I mean, millions of people were murdered. You read Josephus, there were literally the rivers of blood of the casualties. So it seems it's very painful, very serious. But you know, top it off, you know what they did? They took the ruins and the destruction of Yerushalayim, they plowed it under. That's the fifth. I mean, how do you even mention it in the same breath? The 4 verses, the last. So what I said was, if there's a past, we could talk about a future. There's hope. We can rebuild, reestablish ourselves with values, with perspective to go forward. What happens if you can't look back? Because they destroyed the past. If they destroyed the past, there's no future. No future. That's the ultimate tragedy. So plowing under the air, the earth, plowing it under, not having a recollection of what was and how it was supposed to be, that means they want to destroy our future. That's what's listed as the fifth. The Ramchal is writing over here. He speaks about many of these principles of a Kabbalah. It's based on receiving it, as he said, from the Ovos HaKadoshim, patriarchs, and from prophets. And he says, and once you accept that, if you should go delve into the matter, into the issues, and make an evaluation of circumstances, you will understand what we're saying is truth. Through analysis. But what is it predicated on? We're not looking for a needle in a haystack. At least, you look for a needle in a haystack, you don't even know what a needle looks like. The answer is no. Factually, it was. But it could be proven that it was and it still is. But what about to start off? You don't know what it is. Then it's what we call a shot in the dark. You don't even know whether it exists. And if you come upon something, is it what you really believe it was to be? Who knows? You don't know. So even when we go, you speak about analysis and proof, it's within the context of a given. To prove or disprove the information we have, whether God is here or he's not here. The Rabbi Yaakov Emden, the son of the Chacham Tzvi, writes in the introduction to a Siddur that although we no longer live in an era of revealed miracles, there's one revealed miracle which persists throughout history: the existence of the Jewish people. That's a revealed miracle. Humanly, based on every study, in terms of what we've been through, Churban Bayis Rishon Bayis Sheni, exiles, displacements, pogroms, crusades, decrees, a level of discrimination which is unheard of, starvation, and we're still here, thriving. How's it possible? How's it possible? It's a revealed miracle. There's a midrash. The midrash says that one of the Roman emperors said to Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, "You see, Jews, it's hard to believe after what you've been through. How do you still exist? How do you still exist?" He says, "You know what the answer is?" The emperor says, "You people, you're a tough flock. Can't get rid of you. That's the reason why you exist." So he answered him. He says, "I beg to differ. It's a tough shepherd. It's the shepherd watching over the flock. It has nothing to do with the flock." So I'm saying the tenaciousness, people say they attribute to the tenaciousness of the Jew because of a circumstance. The Jew rises to an occasion, but still, 6 million Jews all of a sudden. We're so resilient, we bounce back right away. How's it possible? Whether it's wealth, education, Torah, whatever it is, how's it possible? We've broken to the point almost non-functional. And so many years later, The scars are barely visible. The answer is only one answer. Netzach Yishol Shakir. The eternity of Israel will never lie. God says, you're coming back, we're coming back. That's not going to change. Otzar Sheyida. In addition, you must know that this entity which exists, which is the Blessed One, his essence is something which is a necessity which cannot be without him. If God would not exist, there wouldn't be an existence. It's only because he exists. You know, there's a famous word from Rav Chaim Volozhiner in Nefesh HaChaim. In the Agora, we say Baruch HaMokom Baruch Hu. God is referred to as Mokom. He's the place. So the Midrash says, why is God referred to as a place? Neisha Huma Makomo Shel Olam Ve'eino Olam Makomo. He is the place of the world is not his place. He doesn't live within the context of existence. But rather, existence exists because he wills existence. So he says, he's not part of it, but he is existence. So he gives a Rav Chaim Volozhiner says, if you have a table, the table is large or small as it is, has the capacity to put things on it. So what is the location of the items? The table. But let's say the table only exists because God wills the table. So just as the table, when you put items on it, it has the capacity to hold it, and it's holding because it's a table. Why does anything exist? Because God wills it should continue to exist. It existed and continues to. But why does it continue to exist? Because God is accommodating that item or that existence. So that's like the table accommodating what you put on it. So he's the Mokom. Hu Makom B'Shel Olam. He's the location of the world. The world is not his location. He fuels the turbine over here. He fuels the project. So the world cannot be if God would detach himself from this existence. Can't be for a moment. Otzor Sheyeda. In addition, you must know, God is not dependent on anyone. He's totally independent. His existence is not dependent on anyone. It's interesting. You know, the Chofetz Chaim writes in one location in the Ahavas Chesed, loving kindness, that everybody needs Chesed. The richest man in the world needs Chesed. What happens when he dies? Right, to accompany his remains to the cemetery, to bury him. Everybody needs Chesed. A human being is made up of parts. But what does a part say? That's finite. God, his being contains everything. What is his being? We have no idea what his being is. But if it's mitzusos pshuta, his essence is simple. It's not the details. There are no details to God. Ashlemus kulam nimtzobo b'derech poshut. Pirish meaning kinei b'nefesh imotzu kochos rabim shonim. Within the nefesh of a person, that's his persona, what he's born, his temperaments, the multiple abilities. Each one's off to itself, off its own. Kindness, anger, they don't even cross over. Derech Moshel, Hazikoron Koach Echod, power of memory, mind. Harosa Koach Acher, willingness to do something. That's also in the emotion. You will. Hadimion, making comparisons. Koach acher. Vein echad me'ela nichmas begerer chaveru olav. God is not made up of multiple abilities, and each ability emanates from another source. Although he has multiple things that he possesses, it's true, but the question is, where does it emanate from? It's from his totality. The essence of his which concludes his truthfulness. We say, what is a getter? Getter is limitation. The parameters, God has no parameters. So when we're saying the God there was being only to depict him to our best ability. It's not something which is added to him. His essence is everything. שיאפשר לעין הוא בבלתי כל השלמוס מצד עצמו. והנה במס הדרך הזה רחוק מאוד מהסוג הזה ציורנו. He says, but this approach, we're saying words. God is truthful. He's one. He's not made up of components. That like a human being, you have a heart, you have lungs, you have a brain, you have multiple different abilities. One doesn't cross over to the other. That's not God. His essence is everything. What does that mean? If you can't fathom God, you don't even know what that means. So what he's saying now is really, that's the Masorah. That's part of our tradition. Kimachi lonu derech levaro means we have no words to elucidate it, and words to what, and words to explain it. Kein tzirenu v'dimusenu topsim el inyonim mugbolim v'gvul ha'teva hanivru mimenu yizborach shmo. A person who is able to depict in his mind, visualize things. You can only visualize something that's within your frame of reference. Something that's not within your frame of reference, you can't begin fathoming what that is. What is Hashem? What is Olam Haba? What is spirituality? We have no idea. We've never been there. So how do you know what it is? There's no frame of reference. It's only within the context of physicality, nature, which was created by God. Meaning the faculty of the mind cannot go beyond what's physical. It's interesting, you're right. There's certain physicists that are known as astrophysicists. Astrophysicists. And it's a special ability. A person who could be outstanding in physics in another area, you have to have a certain something to be able to fathom the concepts and how to apply to implement the concepts. But the other person is no less bright, even brighter. It's a certain temperament, it's a certain something. Is it describable? It's not describable. It's not. Lahavdil. Hashem, we spoke about, he's infinite, he's the essence of kindness, he's everything. So how do you explain that? But it emanates from his one being. What does that mean? It emanates from him. Right? The brain has different parts to it. Every aspect of God is everything. Like even the brain, different parts of the brain. One is memory, one is pain, one is emotion. Right? The front of the brain, the back of the brain, It's compartmentalized. Exactly. So therefore, it's rochak melt. The Navi says, "What is olam haba?" So the Navi says, "Ayin lo roso elokim zu losecha." No eye ever saw olam haba. Any human being, regardless of what we speak about, the world to come being the ultimate, ayin lo roso, no eye ever saw it. Elokim zu losecha, except you, God. Only you know what it is. I mean, once a person passes on, he's there. He knows what it is. So when we speak about reward and punishment, Gehenna, the fires of Gehenna, you understand? There's no fire in Gehenna. But there's suffering. Well, what's suffering? In the spiritual, what's suffering? What's pain? Is there pain? We have no idea what it is. Maybe there's no pain. Maybe suffering manifests itself in a different form of whatever that is. Right? We don't know. הדרך הזה רוחם מאובניס הקוסנו וסירנו כמעט שאין לו דרך לברוא מלפורשו כי אין סירנו ותמימוסנו תופסים. Our depiction and what we're able to compare it to could grasp אל עניונים מוגבולים בגבול הטבע נברא בני יסבורך שמו שזהו מה שחושנו מרגישים, because everything's related to our senses, what we're able to sense. ומביאים ציור אל השכל, and based on that the sense causes us to visualize certain things. ובברואים הנה עניונים רבים נפרודים. And within creation, he says, the many different and separate concepts. The world, it's like a composite. It's made up of parts. It's true. The sum total is greater than its parts. But its parts, each one, because it functions in the capacity it does, that's why it functions as it does. But if you remove that part, it doesn't function any longer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'havdil. Even, let's say, you're able to remove part of him, but every aspect of his being has the capacity to process it all. That's what he's coming to point out. We skipped. So all this that we speak is not fathomable. He's one essence that contains everything. This is all part of the tradition. This is part of the transmission. And that we're able to verify it, to establish its truth, that you could do through analysis, based on the laws of nature and its elements, regiments. It's not possible to come upon something that exists which has no relevance to nature. His characteristics are not. It's interesting. We say in Shemon Esrei, Hakel, Hagodol, Hagiva, Vadnora. God is great, God is powerful, and God is awesome. Then what do we say afterwards? Kel Elyon. He's the Kel Elyon, he's the exalted God. When we say a person is strong or merciful, what does that mean? His essence, it's within his emotion to be merciful. He could be hard because his essence is hard. Right? So you'd say, if God possesses characteristics, he's Hakel, Hagodol, Hagiv, Hanorak. That's Chesed, Rachmim. Chesed, Din, and Rachmim. You'd say that's his essence. Kel Elyon. He transcends all that. Has no relevance to him personally. He's purely intellectually touched by it, but it doesn't become him. Mikol Ribui, Barkovo, Mikol Yachas, Ve'erich, Kol Mikri, Handruim. God is not susceptible to anything that has to do with nature. He's totally removed. Sheahu Siba Mitis Kol Nimtzos. He's the true cause. He's the cause of what? Of reality, of existence. Chol HaMisiyai Bom, and all that develops from them. Kizul Hazeh Mitzisan Nimtzos, Shan Roim, the essence of what exists that we see. Hasmadosam Hoye Bilti Efsher, something impossible. second. So after everything's said and done, it's very interesting. The Greeks, what could they not tolerate about the Jews? Greeks had phenomenal wisdom. It was the bracha that Noah had given to Yefes. The Greeks descend from Yefes, right? Yafte Elokim liyefes v'yishkon bo l'Shem. God should broaden the borders of Yefes, and he should dwell in the tents of Shem. Shem. Shem is Klal Yisrael. We descend from Shem, the son of Noah. So they revered wisdom, and they revered the Jews. So what was the differing point? The differing point was they believed if man is endowed with intellect, you can take it wherever you want. It's not something which you restrict, regardless of where it takes you. Even it means to deny God, if that's what the intellect dictates. And if you don't understand, you reject. There's a consensus, it doesn't make sense. You don't see its benefit. What do? You discard it. The Torah says differently. We have chukim, shpotim, we have rational laws, we have irrational laws. When we do certain things, we can't even fathom why we do them. We do them because God said to do it. What does that say? It's pretty restrictive. Although we don't understand, that God says, your intellect operates and functions within the parameters that I set. You cannot cross those lines. To say anything which is contrary to what God sets forth in the Torah. So what are we saying now? We're not only saying that God is not fathomable, even the Torah, many aspects of Torah are not fathomable. Even the things we understand, do you think you really understand it? You understand Kal V'chomer. You understand certain principles we interpret the Torah. In terms of what it really is, because the Torah is not only revealed, there's the concealed Torah. And it's all there, it's part of that. And there are many things you cannot fathom, unless you have a teacher teaching you whatever that may be. Excuse me. Mikol ribui hafarkova, mikol yachas ve'erech, mikol mikre abruim, from the abundance and the composites and the association of whatever happens to this existence. Sheyehu asiba mitis. He is the true cause. He's the cause of causality. Lo nimtzos lo misyali b'hem. Ki zula zeh. Because without that, mitzios hamitzos shanu roim, the essence of the function of what functions, which we see, and the hasmadosam, and then the ongoing function, how you built the efsha. It's not possible. No, it's interesting. One time, a person was considered wealthy, had a certain amount of money. He says, do you know how much money this man has? Let's say 50 years. He has $1 trillion. Impossible. It's not possible. Why isn't it possible? Because you believe it's not possible. Fast forward 30 years, 40 years, maybe someday somebody will have $1 trillion. It's possible. Because within the realm of reality, it's the same thing. He's saying that the world functions as it functions, and there's endless components to existence, and it functions in a certain format, and there's a certain balance. It has to be God. Because if not, how else could it function? It's something that would be impossible. How do you know? Maybe they could design a computer that could handle everything, and we work together, the world could function. I mean, is ignorance, the non-answer is the answer to the question. But that's what he's saying. Because of all that evolves and happens, or what? Because unless you believe that he's the cause, what we see and the ongoingness of it, how you built the Efshar, it's not possible. Just get to the bottom page. That God is the omnipotent one, you must accept that he's one and not more than one. You cannot have two equal beings. That there are multiple beings, that they exist independent of anything else. So it has to be one entity. And if you find other ones which has a semblance of that, because he willingly wills them to be, But everything continuously is contingent on him. Because if he should choose, as we use in the night, to pull the plug, it's over. Having this knowledge, which are fundamental, what is the essence of the truthfulness of God? He said before, it's not fathomable. But what is it? Shleimuso, his level of perfection. Hechrach himotzo, that he must be found. These are all things which are necessities. These are prerequisites to Jewish belief. The truthfulness of his being. He has no deficiency. He is necessary for existence. Yeah. He was a built-in nitleb, and also he's self-sufficient and independent of everything. I think we'll stop here today.